Okay, so today we'll see today we'll see the very first session, that is practically. In the previous session we have discussed just an outline. So in the previous session we discussed architecture of Informatica, right? Today what we'll see, okay, in real time what will happen is you have source systems and you have target system, nothing but a data warehouse design which contain collection of table structures in it. Okay, as it's a training session, I don't have different databases to show you, like, one database is source and one database is target. This type of scenario I can't show you because this is a training session, right? I have only one database in my machine, that is Oracle database. As you know, database contains what? Collection of schemas. Schemas contain what? Collection of tables. Database contain collection of schemas. Schema contain collection of tables. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have a database that is Oracle. In that, as you know, you have collection of schema. In one schema, I'll create all the repository tables. I don't do that. It's you will see in the time of installation. If you're interested to see installation, I'll share you my recorded session. But to be frank, I recorded it very well, but after the session, I have noticed that mic was on mute. So never dared again to record the session. So you can find the recorded session, but you can't hear any voice. Okay. Okay. So I can share you that recorded session if you are interested to see the installation, how it happens. Okay. So what I'll do at the time of installing Informatica and machine, one of the schema I have given as repository database. I created a schema, and at the time of installation, I have given that schema details. Then what happens? All the Informatica related tables are stored in that particular database. Okay, that is called repository database. So what is repository database? A centralized metadata storage place. Whatever code you are going to develop in Informatica, everything is going to store it in repository database. Okay, so I'll create a user database schema, everything is same. Okay, I'll create one more schema and I'll assume it as target system. Generally, who do it in real time? A data modeler will do this in real time. This is the job of data modeler. Okay, prior to this, if you want to connect to Informatica, what are the mandatory services should be start and up? One is, the very first thing is you need to ensure your repository database is up and running fine. So guys, what I told, in which system, in which database my repository is stored? Oracle database. So what is the first checkpoint you need to ensure? You need to ensure whether your Oracle database is up and running fine. Then what are the checkpoints you need to ensure? You need to ensure whether your integration service and repository service are up and running fine. These are the first checkpoint what you need to do. As these are the trial versions, there are the scenarios where your services get down. That's the reason when on a daily basis, before getting into Informatica, I'll check whether the services are up and running fine. So how to check that? It's very simple. Click on Windows R. Click on Windows R and click on services.msc. Then click on OK. Okay. The very first step what you need to do is you need to ensure whether your repository database is up and running fine. So where is your repository database installed? It is installed on Oracle machine. So click on O, and here guys you need to ensure both these services are up and running fine. One is Oracle Service XE. This should be in a started mode. If this is not in a started mode, you need to start it. And the other service is TNS Listener. This also should be in a started mode. If not, start it. Okay. Then just wait for a while and click on I. In the virtual machine, you can see Informatica 8.6, and in my machine, you can see Informatica 9.51. So if you see, can you see my Informatica is in started mode? Is my Informatica in started mode? It's in stop mode, right? Stopped. Then what you need to do? Start it. So guys, what happens in the backend? Any idea? In the backend, what is going to happen is, this in this this two services are getting up. Before this, domain will start up. Domain contains services, and what services will be in a starting mode? One is repository service, another one is integration service. And this administration console is a web portal where you can access these services whether they are up and running fine. So guys, if repository service is not in started mode, what is going to happen? You can't connect client components to the repository database. If integration service is down, what is going to happen? Even though you can develop the even though you can develop the code, the thing is you can't execute the code, right? Who performs ETL functionality? Integration service performs ETL functionality. I told you, right? When you execute the workflow in the workflow manager, integration service connects to the repository service using, sorry, integration service connects to the repository service connects to the repository database using what? Repository service processes, which checks all the validations and extracts the code from the repository database and gets into the integration service buffer. Then what it will do? Using relational connections, it extracts the data from source, transforms the data, and loads the data. So who performs ETL functionality? ETL functionality is performed by integration service. Okay. And if your repository service is down, what is going to happen? Your client components can't access repository database as well as your integration service can't access repository database. Okay, I believe you all are clear with this architecture. Okay, now the very first step what you need to do is, let me connect into what is the first client component in Informatica. Okay, prior to getting into Informatica, what I would like to do is I would like to create the target system. I would like to create the, see, already this schema is done. This is created at the time of installation. This is created at the time of installation. This schema contains 522 table structures in it. This schema contains 522 table structures in it. Okay. So now what I'm going to show you, I'll create a schema and I'll assume it as my target system. I'm not going to create a source system because if I create a source system, I need to create the table structures as well as I need to insert the data into those table structures. If you know SQL, if you know Oracle, when you install Oracle database in your machine, when you install Oracle database in your machine, when you install Oracle database in your machine, you have some default schemas, right? HR, system, sysdba, Scott. These all are called as, yeah, these all are called as default schemas. So what I'm going to do, one of the default schema like HR, I'll take it as my source system. Why? Because why should I see? Our concept is how Informatica works. You are least bothered about the data, right? Our concept is using Informatica as an ETL tool, how to extract the data from source, how to transform the data, and how to load the data into end system. So what I'll do, instead of creating the source system and inserting the data, I will take HR as my source system. As you know, HR contains collection of tables. And why those tables are created? Who are beginners in SQL, to get hands on the SQL, Oracle has defined few tables as well as data into it so that you can file the queries and you can practice SQL. Am I clear, guys? So today's session will be a bit confusing, but tomorrow also I'll repeat the same thing so it will be clear. Just try to understand what I'm telling. That's it. Because a lot of steps on a single session you won't get it. This is a very new to you, right? So there are so many steps which we need to do. So today's session will be a bit confusing, but no worries. Tomorrow also I'll repeat the same session. Okay. Okay, guys. So what is the first step I'm going to do is, as I told you, I don't have multiple databases. I have only one database, that is Oracle. As you know, database contain collection of schemas. One schema I created repository database that at this point of time I can't show you. At time of installation, I created that. And source system. In real time, will you create a source system? No, right? Where the business happens, you connect to those source system and you pick the data. But do we have any business happening? No. For that reason, what I'm doing, I'm taking a default schema of Oracle, that is HR, as my source. The thing what I need to do now is I need to create a target system. Guys, don't worry. In real time, you won't create any target system. Who will create? A data modeler will create the target system with the collection of table structures, and your data model will be in this format. I have shown you this diagram. Okay, this is the data model which is designed by this is the data model which is designed by architect, data architect. So Data modeler has created a target system for you, and he asks you, create these table structures in target system. Can't you create it? Create table, table name, and I'll add all these columns. Okay, but here I don't have any data modeler. As per my requirement, as per my understanding, I will be creating the target table structures, and I'll be giving you, I'll be telling you how I'm expecting Java to load into that particular tables. Okay, so guys, this is SQL developer. This is SQL developer which access Oracle database. See, generally, if you install Oracle, you can access in this way: all programs, start all programs, Oracle, run SQL command line. Okay, this is a very old command prompt, but this is not that much user friendly. If you install SQL Server in your machine, it's a complete GUI based. So to survive in the market, what Informatica has done, they have introduced a third party tools, not third party tools, they have introduced a GUI tools like, I think you heard Toad. Toad is a very regular tool which is used in real time. Toad, SQL Developer, etc. So what they do, those are the GUI tools which access the Oracle database. Those are the GUI tool. I think you understand what is GUI, graphical user interface. Okay, guys. So this is the SQL developer tool. Okay. So when you install Oracle, you get few default schemas like what? System, HR, Scott, sysdba, etc. etc. These schemas I am not going to create. At the time of installation, you'll get these schemas. Okay. If you don't understand anything, blindly stop me. I don't mind. Okay. So guys, click on this. Click on this plus button. First of all, what I would like to show you. Let me connect to HR system. Okay, not HR system. I would like to create a schema. I would like to create a schema. I told you right. Database contain what? Collection of schemas. Schemas contain what? Collection of tables. Okay, now the very first step what I want to do is I want to create a end system. I want to create a target system. I want to create a data warehouse where it contains a collection of table structures. So I would like to create a schema. So which schema I need to create? I need to connect. Can I create a schema connecting to HR schema? HR doesn't have it. Okay, let me show you. First, connection name. It's up to you. Whatever name you want to give, you can give. I'll be giving HR underscore batch 51. See, guys, I have not created this schema. This is the default schema. Okay. I didn't create this schema. If you install Oracle in your machine, you get HR schema. Username is HR, and I have given password in the lowercase HR. As you know, Oracle is a case sensitive. Click on test. Okay, success. Then click on save password, click on connect. So guys, this is the default schema. Okay, and if you see here, what was the connection name we have given? HR underscore batch 52. Okay, is this the connection? Expand this. So guys, these all are what? Collection of tables. Schema contains collection of tables. Okay, this complete thing is called database. Database contain collection of schemas. Okay. See, now what I want to do, I want to see how you have an HR schema, how you have a system schema, how you have a sysdba schema. In the same way, I would like to create a schema. Why? What is the significance of that schema? Because I'll assume that is my target system and I will create table structures in it and I'll tell Informatica to load the data into those table structures. Okay, in real time, you're not going to do this. Okay, guys. So, how to create a schema? Create user, create user, username. It's up to you. Whatever name you want, you can give. I'll be giving batch 52 underscore T. Okay, guys. To connect this user, you need to have a password, right? To connect this user, you need to have a password. Create user, username identified by password. Okay. Create user, username identified by password. Let's give this. What it is telling? This user does not have a privilege. Can you understand this? Yeah, but I can't directly give because this doesn't have an access. This user doesn't have an admin access. Then who has the complete privileges? System schema has the complete DBA privileges. DBA is a high-end privilege, database administrative, whatever you want, you can do with that. The schema, I believe it has only read, select, insert, update. It doesn't have a privilege to create a user. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'll connect to system schema. That system schema has complete privilege. I hope you understand why I'm connecting to system schema, because HR doesn't have a privilege to create another user. Okay, okay. So guys, in the same way, click on plus button, click on give the system name and give the system password, whatever you're given at the time of installation. Why to create a new system again? I already created the system user. I'm just opening it. This is the system schema. If you don't understand, no, I want to do it from like, I want to create new connection. I want to do it. Click on this plus button, give a name. It's up to you. Whatever name you want to give, you can give it. Okay, username system. I think at the time of installation I have given password as system. If not, it will be tiger. Let me check it. Success. Okay, then I have given password as cap system. Okay, now I'll fire the same query here. It will accept. See, what is the query? Create user, username, create user, username identified by password. Okay, can you see here? Okay, now a user created same like HR, system, Scott, sysdba. In the same way, a user has created. But does this user has a privilege to create a table, to insert the data, to select the data, to update the data, to delete the data? What? Okay, you need to give access. Individually, you'll be giving grant select on user two, grant select insert, grant select insert update. No, I would like to give the complete privilege to this user. మీకు అర్థమవుతుందా? What I have done is, if you understand me properly, I just created a schema. That's it. You need to give privileges to that schema, right? If you want to insert or if you want to update or if you want to select, you need to give privileges. So what I'm going to do now is I'll be giving DBA privileges. That means complete admin privileges. Whatever you want in the schema, you can do this. From this schema, you can create new schema. Whereas from HR schema, you can't create. You can give access from here, grant DBA to HR, but not required. Grant DBA to user. What is the user? Batch 52 underscore T. So these are the two basic steps you need to do before getting into Informatica. First of all, you need to create a schema and you need to give DB access to that particular schema. Then I'll assume this schema as my target system. Okay, click on execute. Grant succeeded. Now let me connect to the schema which I just created. So how to connect, guys? Click on this plus button. Here you can give any name. It's up to you. No need to give this name. It's up to you. You can give any name. Okay, and username is batch and the password is, it's a case sensitive. If you give in uppercase, you need to give in uppercase. Or lowercase, you need to give in lowercase. Click on this test, success. Click on save password, click on connect. Now, are there any tables in this schema? No, it's an empty schema. It doesn't contain any table structures in it. Can you see here, guys? There are no tables because I just created it. Now, see, in real time, what happens? They'll give you this Excel sheet and they'll tell you to create the table structures. Can't you create it? Create table, table name, bracket open, column 1, data type, comma, column 2, data type, comma, bracket close, semicolon, enter. A table is created. Okay. My data modeler has told me you need to create a table structure with the same table as employee table structure, which is there in HR schema. But the table name should be TB underscore EMP underscore simple pass SP. What do you understand by simple pass? I don't want to apply any business logic in this table. I just want to extract the data from HR schema employee table and I just want to load the data into batch 52 underscore T schema TB underscore EMP underscore SP table. If you understand me properly, my data modeler has assigned me some work saying that boss, create a table with the name TB underscore EMP underscore SP in batch 52 underscore T schema, and that structure should be same like the employee table which is there in HR schema. Then what I'm going to do? If he has told me to create this table, then I'll take reference as this document and I'll create it. But metadata modeler has not told me to create this table. What table he want to create? He want me to create the same table structure, same as HR schema. So go to HR schema and which table? Go to employee table and okay, I would like to create a table with this schema. Then what you'll do? And what should be my table name? EMP underscore SP. So what you'll do? Create table, table name, bracket open, employee ID, number, first name, varchar, last name, varchar, department ID, number, bracket close, enter. But I don't want to write the complete SQL. I want to make things easy. Then what I'll do? Can you see your SQL, guys? If you click here, you can see the data in the table. And if you click here, you can see the table definition. You can see the table definition. What that means what? You can see the SQL defined to create the table structure. So why what I'll do? I'll just copy this SQL. Why will I create the complete query again? Copy it, Control C, and go to your schema and paste it. Okay. And what should be here, guys? It should be batch 52 underscore T. And what should your table name? TB underscore, TB means nothing but table. TB underscore EMP underscore simple pass. Okay. Now see, a table structure is created. Can you see here? Now go to your schema and click on refresh. Click on refresh. You can see a table created with the name TB underscore EMP underscore SP. Can you see here? But a table is created with no data in it. It just contains the table structure. It doesn't contain any data. Now my Informatica job starts. Now what is told to me is use Informatica as an ETL tool, extract the data from HR schema, and the table is EMP. I don't want to apply any business logic. Directly load the data into batch 52 underscore T schema, and the table what I want you to load is TB underscore EMP underscore SP. This is the requirement. Okay, guys. So generally, no need to have Informatica here. You can directly write a query, right? Insert into table, table name, values as select star from hr.emp. Then what happens? That schema table, that schema data will be inserted into this schema. But I'm going to do it with Informatica. So guys, what is the very first client component in Informatica? Excellent. Repository manager. Repository manager. So click on, so what you are going to do in repository manager, you create a folder and if possible assign privilege to the users. Okay, click on start, click on all programs, click on Informatica, click on client, click on power center client and click on okay, click on this R. Okay, so guys, what this is called? This is called repository database. I have shown you right in the diagram. If you see, this is the repository database. And what I told the significance of repository database, whatever code you are going to develop in Informatica, everything has to store it in repository database. Okay, so this is repository database. Right click. See, don't get confused. This is also same like a schema in this way. How you see in the left window, same like schema. So that schema you are accessing through Informatica because whatever code you are going to store, everything will be stored in that particular schema. Nothing but repository database. Right click, click on connect and enter the credentials. User, okay. So how you connected to this schema, guys? You entered batch 52 underscore T and you have given password as batch 52 underscore T. How you connected to HR schema, username HR password HR. In the same way, actually, repository username password is something different. I have given as repo and repo. But to access that database, I am connecting with user admin. In real time, you won't connect with admin. You have a user with your name. If you connect with admin, then how no one can track what you have done because admin has a super privilege. Okay, as this is a training session, I'm connecting with admin, but in real time, you'll connect with your username. Okay. Password is admin. So see guys, these all are the earlier code which I developed. These all are called as what this called. In left side you can see folders. Folders are nothing but representation of your code. Okay. Then click on folder, click on create. So whatever name you want, you can give it. Batch 52. Okay. So whatever code I'm going to develop in this session, everything I'm going to store it in this particular folder. Click on OK. A folder has been successfully created. Okay. Click OK. So from one client component, you can access another client component. From one client component, you can access another client component, or else every time you have to follow this step: start all programs, Informatica client, Power Center client, repository manager, or else from one client component you can access another client. So what is the next client component? Mapping designer. So what you're going to do in mapping designer, the very important client component as a developer perspective, you need to create a mapping. To create a mapping, what you require? You require a source table and you require a target table. So how do I get source and target table? Using ODBC connections. This is what I told you. So what is our folder? Our folder is batch 52. Can you see the folder which we created? Double click. Okay. The very first, okay, to create a mapping, the very first step, you require source and target. So if you see here, if you click on this icon, you can see something called as mapping designer. If you click on this icon, you can see your source analyzer, and the top you can see sources. If you click here, on the top you can see targets. If you click here, on the top you can see mappings, or else click on tools, click on source analyzer. So what is the first step? I need to get the source table into Informatica. So how do I get it? Click on sources, click on is my source a database file, COBOL file, XML file. My source is database. What I told you, how Informatica interacts with the database using, can you see your ODBC? Click on this ellipse button. Click on, see, it's very simple. Click on source, import from database, click on this button, click on add. So guys, what is your database? What is your database driver? Oracle. Click on finish. It's up to you. Whatever name you want to give, you can give. As I'm connecting to HR schema, I'm giving the connection name as, okay, TNS service name. You should not forget this. Click on Windows R, click on services.msc, follow the steps, click on O, and whatever service name you see here, that is the service name you need to give in the TNS entry. So what is the service name I see? XC. So you need to give here XC. This is the important step. I have given HC, you should not give HC. Open the services and check what is your Oracle service name. And pass username is HR. Click on test connection. For HR, password is in lowercase to me. Click on HR. What do you mean by this? Informatica has established a successful connection to HR database or Oracle database. Click OK. Now click OK. How you can see here, in the same way Informatica I can see the tables. How you can see here, in the same way I can see it in Informatica. How? Click on this drop down button. So what was the connection name which you created, guys? HR underscore username, password, expand this. Can you see here? These are the collection of tables. Informatica is connected to database, and database contain collection of schema. We connected to HR schema, and these are the tables. Click on OK. And what is the step you need to remember? Whatever code you develop in Informatica, what you need to do? Save it in repository database. So what happens in the backend when I click on repository save? In the backend, repository server connects to the repository database using repository service processes, which checks the validations and saves the code in repository database. Now what is the next step? Source is done. The next step is target. So follow the steps. Click on tools, click on target designer. here you can see a tab called as targets, or else click on this. Can you see here? Targets, click on. I won't get the target connection name because I have not created. So let me create it. How should I create? Click on this ellipse button. Click on add. Then select your ODBC driver. Click on here. It's up to you. Whatever name you want to give, you can give that name. And what I told about TNS service name and username. What is the username which you created? You need to give the same username. Click on enter the password. So while you practice, these are the regular steps what makes you confused. So once you do it for 3 to 4 times, you'll get a good idea. I told you that ODBC connections and relational connections will be a bit confusing. Click on OK.
I
Yeah,
have a
please.
doubt here.
Yeah.
Here the target schema we already designed, right? Then
You have
what is
defined it in
here?
database, right? You have
Yeah.
defined it in database. So in Informatica, I'm importing it. How
Okay.
see Informatica is a tool, database is some other application. You need to get the target table into Informatica. How do you get it? Through ODBC connections. That is the connection which I have created. Here, this is not called the ODBC connection. This is not an ODBC connection. This is just a connection name to access the database. And I created a table with the name TB underscore EMP underscore SP. And Informatica, what I do, I extract the data, I load the data. To extract the data, to load the data, what you require? You require an ODBC connections. How do you design a mapping in Informatica? Through you need to get source and target. Where are
So
your source and target? They are in some database. So how Informatica interacts with those database? Using ODBC connections. So I'm creating the ODBC connections. Yeah, tell me.
okay, so in the database we created the target schema and
Right.
we created a table.
Right. True. Perfect.
Okay. So
Perfect.
with that we are importing the Informatica through
Perfect.
ODBC
Perfect.
connection.
Whatever table structures I created in database, I'm importing those table structures into Informatica. But how? How Informatica interacts with the database? Using ODBC connections. So these are
ODBC.
the connections which I created.
Okay.
Okay. It will be a bit confusing, but if you put your hands on like 2 to 3 times, if you practice or if you go through the recorded session, 100% it will be clear. It's very simple, nothing to get confused. Here, I just given a connection name to access HR database, and this is a connection name which access system database, and this is a connection name which access batch 52 database. If you work through this command line, no need to give all those things. You can directly connect. See here, click on Oracle, click on Run SQL command line. Just click on Connect. Where what you want to connect? Do you want to connect to target system? Batch 52 underscore T. No need to give any name. I would like to see what are tables in this schema. Select star from. I would like to see the table structure. In this, you need to write a SQL query for each and everything. I would like to see if there is any data in this particular table. Now I would like to connect to some other schema. Can you see here? So here no need to give any connection name. In SQL Developer as a GUI tool, I have given the connection name. You want to connect to repository database. I have given username as repo and I believe password is in lowercase. Okay. How many tables will be in this repository database? I believe it's 522, but let us check. 522 or 529. Oh, sorry, 678. In 8.6, there were 522 tables. In 9. From 9.1 onwards, some tables got increased. That is 678. Nothing to worry. You need not know what are those tables because they won't give you access on those tables. Because if you make any issues, your complete Informatica will go down. So you don't get access on this schema. Okay. Ah, views are also there. Whatever you do in Informatica, everything will be stored in this table structures. Okay, no need to know these table structures, to be very frank. You don't get access on these table structures. Right, true, true. Same, yeah. System tables. Click on OK. So, Wala Mati, am I clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on OK. Click on OK. Now, from this ODBC connection, I'm going to access batch 52 underscore T database. So, what was the connection name I have given? I have given as batch 52. That's it. BA double T I have given. Yeah. Oh, okay. So no problem. Username is batch 52 underscore T. That is means that this is a schema which I created. And password is batch 52 underscore T. Now click on connect. You see only one table in the schema, right? Okay. Informatica is connected to Oracle database and it is importing TB underscore EMB underscore SP. Click on OK. Now whatever code you develop, your source is ready, target is ready. What is the next step? Mapping. This is a very important thing. So how to create a mapping? Click on tools, click on, or else you can directly click on this. Can you see your top something called as mapping? Click on mappings, click on create. M followed by some meaningful name. Drag the required source and drag the required. See what I'm doing here? To I just created a mapping name and I'm dragging the source and target. So where are my source and target? My source and targets are in repository database. Nothing but I just connected to repo, right? In that database, all my in my repository tables, that data is stored. But whatever code you developed in, whatever code you stored in repository database, everything you can see in this window. This is called repository navigator window. Virtually you can see here. You understand, right? Whatever code I developed in Informatica, everything is stored in repository database. But the things virtually you can see in this window. This is called what? This window is called what? Repository navigator window. And this window is called output window. If you click this, this will go. Okay. If you click this will come and go. Okay. Now what you need to do to create a mapping, you require a source and you require a, if you observe here carefully, when I dragged a source table, I'm getting two tables. When I dragged a target, I'm getting only one table. Any guesses? See here. What is the data type of employee ID here? What is the data type of employee ID here? Here, here, date here. Who is converting these data types? Am I converting these data types? Then who is doing this? Sorry, those data types are converted by Informatica server. Those data types are converted by Informatica server. Okay, those data types are converted by Informatica server. But why? Because see guys, who performs ETL functionality? Integration service or Informatica service, both are same. Okay, integration service performs ETL functionality. Okay, but the thing is, integration service cannot understand source data types. Integration service cannot understand source data types. Okay, integration service cannot understand database language. So what did source qualifier transformation do? It converts the source data types into which integration service understands. So source qualifier transformation is the default transformation in Informatica. Source qualifier transformation is the default transformation in Informatica which converts the source data types into which integration service understands. You understand why source qualifier came into the picture? Because ETL functionality is done by integration service, but when I say integration service or Informatica service, both are same. Integration service can't access your source language. For that reason, source qualifier converts the source data types into which integration service understands. So am I clear with source qualifier? Okay. Now, what are these called? These all are called links. In a mapping, data flow through links. So this table structure and this table structure is same, right? This table structure and this table structure is same. So you can drag each and every column and you can drop it. Or else what you can do, as both table structures are same, right click on select all, drag it and drop it. So guys, this is called what? Mapping. So how data flows in mapping? These are called links. How data flows through mapping? Links. So what is mapping? A mapping is a Jaja flow diagram. A mapping is a Jaja flow diagram which tells us how data flow from source to target. So to create a mapping, what you require? You require a source and you require a target. So where are your source and target? They are in database. How you access those database? Using ODBC connection. Excellent. So whatever code you develop, you need to. So your source is ready, target is ready, mapping is ready. What is the next step, guys? You need to create the session. So how to create a session? To create a session, you need to connect to the workflow manager. To create a session, you need to connect to the workflow manager. So workflow manager, you create a session. So what is session? Session is a set of instructions which tells us how to execute the mapping. So guys, how to create the session? Click on task, click on create. So session contains what? Mapping. So how should you be your mapping session name? S followed by mapping name. These are the naming standards you need to follow. Okay. So what was the mapping name which I have given? M followed by whatever table I am loading. So these are the naming standards you need to follow. Session contains what? Is this my mapping? What is my mapping name? So session contains mapping. So here, if you remember, I told you one thing. There are two, this is very, very important point. There are two types of connections in Informatica. There are two types of connections in Informatica. One is called, other one is called, excellent. So what is the role of relational connections? What is the purpose of relational connections? Relational connections are used to extract the data. What is the purpose of ODBC connection?
To connect to the source and the
No.
target.
ODBC connections are just to import the table structures, but relational connections are extract the data. So ODBC connections are created in Mapping Designer, whereas relational connections are created in Workflow Manager. So guys, here if you see here, can you see EMP or can you see SQ underscore EMP? What you can see here? SQ, you can't see EMP. Why you think so? Because Informatica server reads from source qualifier because it can't understand source language. That's the reason in the session you can see SQ but not source. So these are called relational connections. These are called relational connections. How do I create the relational connections? Follow these steps. Click on connections. Click on. This is a one-time job unless and until your database get changes. Click on relational. Click on. See, it's very simple. Click on connections. Click on relational. Click on new. Select your database. My database is Oracle. So here it's up to you. Whatever name you want to give, you can give. Or else I'll just reverse it. Batch 52 underscore HR. This is my source connection name. And what is the username to source? HR. And what is the password to source? HR. So what I suggest is while practicing, just open a notepad and just type it what was the ODBC connection you have created and what is the which database that connection is pointing and what is the target ODBC connection which you created and which database it's pointing. In the same way, what are your relational connections? Just make a note in the notepad so you won't get confused. I'm telling you at the time of practice, You'll be get confusing with these ODBC connections and relational connections. Follow the same steps, and create what? I just created source relational connection. Know what you need to create? Target relational connection. Click on new, select your database, click on OK. It's up to you. Whatever name you want to give, you can give it. My username is the target system which I want to connect. The database username is batch52 underscore t, and this is the password, and this is the connection string. Now what you need to do, as you have created source and target relational connections, double click the session. I created source and target relational connections here, right? Whatever connections you created, assign it here. Double click the session. So guys, session contains mapping contains source and target. So where are your source and targets? They are in some database. Click on this button. So what is your source relational connection name? Batch52 underscore HR. Okay, click on OK. Now what? Select the target table and give the relational connection which it points to. So what is your target relational connection? After some time, you forgot which database this connection is pointing. After some time, you forgot which database this connection is pointing. Click on override. So which database it's pointing, guys? Is this my target system? Yes. Click on OK. Click on OK. Click on apply. Click on OK. Whatever code you develop, you need to. So if you understand, source is ready, target is ready, mapping is ready, session is ready. What is the last thing you need to do? You need to create a start task. Start task is also called as workflow. Workflow contains session, session content mapping, mapping content. There are two ways where you can connect to the workflow designer. One is click on tools, just click on workflow designer, or else just click on this workflow designer. So click on workflows, click on create. So guys, workflow content, session content, mapping content. These are the naming standards you need to follow. Workflow content, session content, mapping content, source and target. So click on OK. This is the start task. So what this start task do? It will start the session. Where your session in the left side window that is called as repository navigator window. Drag this session, drop it, click on task, click on link task. So guys, whatever code you develop, what you need to do, so what's happening every time when you save the code? In the backend, a repository server connects to the repository database using repository service processors, which checks all the validations and saves the code in repository database. So what are the things we have done till now? First of all, we created a target system. Then we have given DB access to that particular test system. Then I have created a table structure in it. Then I told you uh, uh, to load the data into this particular table structure, you need to extract from the HR schema, that is the employee table. And I don't want to apply any business logic, directly load the data into target system. For that, the very first step, we connected to repository manager, we created a folder, then we connected to mapping designer. In the mapping designer, we created a mapping. To create a mapping, we require a source and we require a target. To get the source and target into Informatica, we created an ODBC connections. Using those ODBC connections, you imported source table and target table. Then you created a mapping. A mapping is a Jaja flow diagram which tells us how data flows from source to target. Then you connected to workflow manager. You created a session. No, your session is at 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock, one more session is happening. So I'll connect in another 10 minutes. Okay. So what I done, I created a session, then session contains mapping contains source and target. So you need to click on connections, you need to click on relational, you need to click on new. In this way, what you do, you are creating the relational connections. Then you double click the session, you clicked on mapping, you've given the source and target relational connections. Then what is the step you need to do? Click on workflow, click on create. Okay, you'll get a start task. Then from this repository navigator window, drag the required session, click on task, click on link task, link it up. Whatever code you are going to develop, you need to Save it. Okay. 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 So guys, workflow content session content mapping content source and target, workflow content session content mapping content source and target. Daily will be doing the same steps except here between source qualifier and target you see a lot of transformation coming into the picture. So what I told about transformation, it's it tells you how to convert data from one format to another format as per the client requirement, as per the business requirement. You understand, right? Okay, guys. So now let me execute the workflow. So what happens when I execute the workflow in the backend? This is a very, very important thing you need to know. These things need to run in your mind. Then only you are getting a grip on Informatica. When you execute the workflow in the workflow manager, what is going to happen in the backend is integration service connects to the repository service connects to the repository database, extracts all the metadata, whatever you developed in the client components and stored it in repository database and gets into the integration service buffer. Then using relational connections, it extracts the data, transforms the data, and loads the data into target system. Those are all things you can see it in a client component that is called as what? That is called as workflow monitor. So this is all about Informatica, guys. So daily we're doing the same things. This client component is called as workflow monitor. The name itself is telling you monitor the code. Workflow session. See, it succeeded, your job is done. No, you need to right click, you need to click on get run properties. How many records are read from source, guys? Are there any rejections while reading the data from source? How many records are loaded? Are there any rejections while loading the data into target table? No. Okay. So now go to the database. Earlier there was no data into this particular table. When I click on refresh, see what is going to happen. This is all Informatica. Informatica is a powerful tool which is used to extract the data from source systems, transform the data, and load the data into target systems. So daily we're repeating the same steps except here a lot of transformations comes into the picture and all the steps will be same. But tomorrow once again I'll do all the things again, but from the next session I'm not going to create a folder, I'm not going to create an odbc connections, I'm not going to create relational connections. I'll just reuse the database which I created. Why the hell should I create new database every time for every new table? In the same table I'll be creating collection of tables and I'll be using those connections. So what I'm going to do, I'll send you this recorded session tomorrow. I'll follow the same steps again. So tomorrow, if you are clear 60% today, I believe tomorrow 100% you will have a clarity. Just go through the recorded session once again before coming to the session. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know.